Hey there, and welcome back to the Journey to VBAC podcast. So, today's episode, I just wanted to give you a little prelude to it. It's a little bit different than our normal episodes, but I promise that it's deeply connected to the heart of every VBAC journey. I'm sharing a recent speech that I gave in person where I actually opened up about my life and some traumas that I had gone through and how that actually shrunk my voice. And I think it's just so important to showcase this because it's not one situation that could happen that has brought you here, where you might be feeling like your voice is small or you don't have a voice at all. And I talk about how I realized that silence actually led me straight into my three, what I know now to be unnecessary cesareans. And it wasn't until I found my voice on my VBAC journey that I had always longed for that I had actually realized this. So, this episode is raw and real. And while the audio isn't perfect because, I wasn't on a professional microphone tied to the recording, which was on my phone, the message I feel like is so important. And I really want to get this message across. And if you prefer to watch it, you can actually head to my YouTube channel and I will link it below and you can watch the full video. So, this episode is only about my speech is about 17 minutes long. And I just want to invite you to lean in because if you have ever struggled to speak up, whether that's with providers, family, or even yourself, I want to tell you that this episode is for you. All right, so let's dive in. Hello, and thank you so much for coming and being willing to hear all of our speeches because I feel like every one of us brings so much value from our own experiences and we need that experience from others to help us through our own lives. So I have a question for you that I want to start with. Now, by a show of hands, who wants this $20 bill? Okay.
That's probably mine.
Who still wants it? Okay. All right. Who still wants it? Of course you do. Because the worth of this $20 bill never changes. No matter how much you step on it, you crumple it up, no matter what you do to it, the worth of that $20 bill never changes. And that's the same with you. No matter who stomps you down, who tells you you're not good enough, who tells you you're not skinny enough, who tells you that you're not smart enough, your worth never changes, no matter what they try to pour into you. And I believe that with my heart and soul today, but it wasn't always that way. So there's so many different situations that happened in my life that made me feel small, that made me feel like my voice wasn't worthy of being heard. And I'll just tell you a few of those situations. So when I was 11 years old, I used to get bullied because I was fat, because I had big eyes, because I had a big butt. And they used to actually throw rocks at me while I was walking home from the school bus. And they told me that I wasn't worthy. That why was I even here? And I believed that with my heart and my soul, that they were right. Why was I here? I wasn't worthy because I was overweight, because I had big eyes. So another situation that happened was later on in my life, my virginity was taken from me, forcefully, not by my own will. And I was told to keep my voice silent, to be quiet, not say anything, because the person that I loved was in the next room and they would harm them physically. So I was quiet. I kept my voice quiet. I didn't say a word. And then, that was when I was 15. When I was 16, I ended up becoming pregnant with my first daughter. And I was a child. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know what to expect. So I just listened to the experts, which were these OBs telling me how I should prepare for my pregnancy, how I should give birth. And so by the end of my pregnancy, I didn't educate myself. I was just trusting these experts, and I didn't realize that I could say anything. I didn't realize that I could ask questions because I didn't know what to ask. I had no idea. So the day of my labor came, and I was scared. In all the movies, they said, go to the hospital when your water breaks. So I went, and that was 6 a.m. in the morning. My labor started. By 5:39 p.m., my baby was surgically removed from my abdomen because it was an emergency, my doctor said, because there was something wrong and a cesarean was needed. But during my cesarean, I remember my doctor saying, oh, now I can go to my dinner. Now I'll get to my dinner on time. And I was shocked. And at that moment, everything went blank. I don't remember my baby being born. And I don't know if it was because of the trauma response of my mind just suppressing those memories, or if it was all the drugs that were being pumped into my 16-year-old body. So that was a really, really hard experience. So I was 16, trying to take care of a baby. I had never even taken care of a baby ever in my life. And so moving fast forward to meeting my husband. I met my husband, Javi, 6 years later, and we ended up getting pregnant 2 years after that. So I got pregnant with my daughter, and I ended up having something called placenta previa. And this is where the placenta, which is the life force for your baby in your abdomen, it was halfway covering my cervix. And so I had to have a cesarean again. So we scheduled the cesarean for 36 weeks, and I just listened to my doctor. I didn't do any research. I just thought, well, they're the expert. I know nothing about this. So I'm going to trust that they're saying is the right thing for me to have. And so I went into that cesarean, and it was, I do remember the birth of my baby, but I remember laying on that table and wondering how I got here. And I just didn't know. I didn't know how I got here. I didn't know what questions to ask still. I didn't know that I had a choice or a voice in the matter because my doctor said, you have to do this. So after I had my baby at 36 weeks, I had another rough journey because I had a major abdominal surgery. And people say a cesarean is an easy way out, but there's nothing easy about having a cesarean. There's 7 layers of your body that are cut open to take that baby out. Then you are sewn back together, and you are expected to take care of this newborn baby. So it was really hard, but I got through it. And then a couple years later, we decided to have another baby. So with this baby, I was so excited. I was like, okay, this is gonna be different. I read about VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean. I was like, I'm gonna have a VBAC. This is happening. I went to the same doctor who performed my second cesarean, and she said, no, we don't do that here. You can't have a cesarean. You can't have a VBAC. You've had 2 cesareans now. It's too dangerous. You could die, your baby could die. We're just not gonna do it. We don't support that here. We have a VBAC ban, actually, at this hospital. I was like, okay, they have a VBAC ban, so that means this is not safe. Obviously, this hospital's right and I'm wrong. So I went along for the journey, and I ended up getting to 39 weeks, and it didn't feel right. It wasn't sitting right with me that I was gonna have another surgery to extract my baby from my body. Everything inside of my cells was telling me no, but I still ignored it. I pushed it way down. I was like, no, they're right, they're the experts. I shouldn't say anything. So the day of my surgery came, and I was so nervous because I was having a major abdominal surgery. And I got there, and as my body went numb from the chest down, it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel right. It felt so wrong. But I laid there, numb, having the nurses literally put their whole body weight pushing into my chest to push my baby out of the abdomen, the opening that they made in my abdomen. It was so hard to breathe, to even breathe, because people were literally on top of my chest. And so I struggled to stay calm, but I did. And once I heard my baby come out, they pulled the curtain down because I had a clear drape so I could see them taking the baby out of my abdomen. And as I put my hand up, because I saw her, so I was like, of course I can reach her, I can touch her. There was the plastic in front of me. So still, even though I had this clear drape to see the birth of my baby, I still felt disconnected, confused, angry, sad. I didn't know why this was happening. And so I said to myself, never again am I going through this. Never again. So as Javi went with the baby to the baby warmer to make sure she was okay, I laid there and I looked up. And when I looked up, so there's like this reflective light so that the doctors can see what they're doing, super bright. I saw my open abdomen in that light. And I couldn't believe it. It's like, how am I here again? How is this happening again? So I just said, never again, this is not happening. So then, after we had our baby, it was the best recovery because I knew what to expect this time, so it wasn't that bad. It was still hard, but it wasn't that bad. So I told, Javi and we talked about it, and I was like, I don't think I can have another baby and go through this again. Well, we ended up having another baby because, why not? We had 3 girls, and we were like, well, we'll see if we have a boy. I didn't really care because I had 3 girls. I was like, I know how girls are. It's all good. So we went on to get pregnant, and I was like, I'm having a VBAC. And Javi was like, ugh, I don't know, you've had C-sections, like, doesn't the doctors know what's best for you? And of course he was skeptical.
Hell no. That's right.
Everybody was skeptical because we were told that this was dangerous, that there was no other option for us at this point. So I went and I said, well, I'm doing this. I don't care what anybody says. I'm doing this. And Javi already knows. If I say that I'm doing something, if I set my mind to something, I'm doing it. I don't care what anybody says. So he's like, okay, I support you. And so we went on to have an amazing pregnancy, and I was going to do things differently. So I changed providers to someone who I knew would support vaginal birth after 2 cesareans, and that was Petra-The. And I was like, I just had 1 more cesarean. They'll support me, right? Yeah, no, I was wrong. So I went to Kaiser, and they said, oh no, we don't support that here. That's so dangerous. And I was like, okay, well, I want to do this. And by this time, I had researched. I had gotten the facts, the evidence for what I wanted to do, and the risks and the benefits of what I wanted to do. And they actually outweighed the risks of having another cesarean. So I was going for it. I didn't care what they said. So I told her at that appointment, I said, I'm doing this with or without your support. And her face just drained. She looked at me and said, this is stupid. You are wrong. You're gonna kill your baby and yourself. And I was like, I understand you're counseling me, but I'm doing this anyways. I know the evidence, I'm educating myself, and I'm confident that I can do this. And she said, okay. So after that, I never saw her again because she sent me to every single OB, maternal fetal medicine doctor, and nurse practitioner that was in the practice. I saw about 10 different of them. So, and I know why she did this now. It was because she wanted every single one of them to tell me, this is wrong. You can't do this. And every single one of them did tell me that. But I said, I know what I'm doing. This feels right. This feels like the right thing to do. So I was doing it. Along the way, it was really hard. I would leave appointments crying my eyes out. And I would call Javi and tell him, I don't know if this is the right thing. And he's like, I trust you. If you say this is the right thing, then it is. And so I did it. I went to every appointment, even though I cried. I was sad, but I still did it. Because something inside of me said that this was the right thing to do, and I was so tired of having people tell me what I should and shouldn't do. So the day came that I went into labor, and I was so excited. You hear most people say they're so scared to give birth. I was excited. I couldn't wait to feel that first contraction. And when I did, I welcomed it with open arms. And I went through those contractions for 3 days to warm up for the real thing. And so that was a Friday. And then on Monday, I went to my doctor for a scheduled appointment, and I got what's called a membrane sweep to help kickstart labor. Well, it started and didn't stop. I was so excited. I was like, yes, bring it on. And so I labored at home for until 5 p.m. that night, and then we went to the hospital. And during my pregnancy, I was preparing to have to advocate, to have to find my voice, because I got so much pushback on this journey. So I would literally look at myself in the mirror, and it feels so awkward at first. But I would tell myself, Petra, you are strong. You are confident. You have a voice. And this is your choice and your journey. And so that helped me to find my voice and my confidence on this road. And every single appointment that I went to, it was like I was practicing in finding my voice, because I had to speak up for myself with every single doctor and nurse that I saw. So I was ready for it. So we got to the hospital and I was ready to fight. I was ready to speak up for myself. Well, we got there and I was like 8 or 9 centimeters dilated. So if you don't know, you have to get to 10, and that's typically when you start pushing. So I was right there. And I was like, yes. And the doctor goes, all right, let's have a baby. And I was like, what? That easy? I was ready to fight you guys. No, it was amazing. We were there for 2 hours. And then with 5 pushes, I pushed my baby out. And that might not seem like something amazing to some people, especially if you've never given birth yourself, or you're a guy and you're like, oh, that's cool. But it's pretty amazing, because I've seen like women go through 3 days of labor and push for 6 hours. So for me, I was like, that's it? This is amazing. So I was able to pull my baby onto my chest for the first time out of all 4 of my babies. And that feeling was like nothing I've ever felt in this world, because I was now a part of this journey. I was a part of the decision making that happened. I was no longer just standing by and watching things be done to me. I was able to speak up for myself when I couldn't before, because I felt so small. I didn't realize that I could ask questions, that I could say no. And I just want to tell you that this is not just about birth, because in postpartum or in life in general, you have to speak up for yourself, or you have to speak up for your kids when they don't have a voice. So learning how to speak up for yourself is so important. And it's so transformational, because then you feel like you can take on the world. I felt like I could take on the world. Here I am speaking on a stage when I never thought that I could do this. Never in a million years would I envision myself being here today, being able to speak about how I felt this big before, and now I feel like I'm as tall as the clouds. I feel like I can do anything, and nobody can stop me. And you know what? You can too. So if you're thinking about somewhere in your life where you feel like you're playing small, ask yourself a question. Where am I playing small? What situation in my life am I holding back? Because why are you holding back? What's stopping you? Who cares about Instagram and being Instagram worthy? Do what feels right to you, no matter what anybody says to you. Because at the end of the day, this is your journey. You are the one that is going to live with your decisions, nobody else. So, now, I want to tell you that you are worthy of anything in this world. And this $20 bill is just like you. No matter what happens to you, no matter what anybody says to you, you are always worthy. Your worth never changes, no matter how much somebody speaks negativity into you or tells you you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not smart enough. You are worthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to that episode. And I know it was really hard at times to hear things just because we were outside and it was storming and raining and people were walking all over the place. And, you know, there was just so much background noise. So I appreciate you if you got through that. I know it wasn't the easiest thing to listen to, but I really do hope that the message came through. And if it resonated with you, please let me know. Go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram at birthingcometrue. I would really love to hear if this episode helped you, grew you, or stretched you just to ask more questions and to dig a little deeper into what may be affecting your decisions or speaking your truth, finding your voice, whatever it may be for you. I really do hope that this inspired you in some way to take action or just look at a different side of you that you may not have considered yet. Thank you again so much for listening. And I'm so excited to do some more in-person events like that. It was just so incredible. And I even had a woman come up to me afterwards and tell me how my story had resonated with her and that her story was very similar to mine. And I know that there's so many more people out there like that. It might be you that are listening to this right now. And I want you to know that you are not alone. And yes, it may seem like it's the hardest thing that you're ever doing in your life right now, but I want to encourage you to keep going because you can do it. There's so many times in my life where I felt like, why me? Why is this happening to me? This is so hard. I don't want to do this anymore. But I just kept on going, because I knew that I deserved a different experience. And I got one, and like I've talked about so much on this podcast, it was the most transformative experience I've ever gone through in my life. And it not only affected my birth experience, but it affected my postpartum and my life as a parent beyond that. So I really hope that this helped you. And I will let you know when I do have some more in-person speaking events so I can invite you if you're in my area, or you can just listen to the recording or watch it on YouTube. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. And if you do want some extra help on your journey, if you are on a journey to VBAC, you're not pregnant yet, or you are pregnant and you would like some community, that's why I created my Journey to VBAC membership. And if you are interested, you can go ahead and click the link below and join today. And you can cancel literally anytime. If you get in there and you're like, oof, this is not for me, this is not my vibe, there's no hard feelings whatsoever. You just cancel and that's it. You don't have any more payments after that. It's a month-to-month basis membership, and you get a full-on VBAC preparation course in there as well as the community and so many other things. You have access to monthly experts. Our expert for this month was a lady named Brittany, and she is a doula and birth educator, and she focuses on the intuitive mechanics of birth and labor and how to move intuitively. And if you aren't sure how to do that, she actually taught us how you can hone into your intuition while you are in labor so that you can move in a way that is helping your baby get in the optimal position for birth, and just so much more. So if you are interested, go ahead and check out the link below, and I hope to see you in there. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon. I hope you loved that episode as much as I loved creating it. And if you want to learn more, be sure to download your free VBAC resource guide for even more tips and advice at birthingcometrue.com/VBAC guide. And don't forget to subscribe to the Journey to VBAC so you never miss an episode. Until next time, trust in yourself and remember, you are amazing no matter how your birth unfolds. Bye for now.